Stories and Documentary Network. Welcome back to our channel. The Kingdom of Kocho, a prominent Uyghur state in Central Asia, stood as a beacon of cultural, religious, and commercial significance during the medieval period. Located in the fertile oases of the Tarim Basin, the kingdom thrived as a nexus of civilizations, connecting the east and west through the legendary Silk Road. This unique Uyghur polity not only served as a vital hub for trade but also became a melting pot of religious and cultural influences, fostering a rich legacy that continues to inspire modern appreciation for Central Asian history. Qocho's significance extended beyond its economic prowess. It was a spiritual center where Mahayana Buddhism flourished, enriched by Manichaean and Nestorian Christian communities. The kingdom's vibrant artistic and literary achievements, evident in its Buddhist murals, manuscripts, and the development of the Uyghur script, reflect a society deeply invested in intellectual and spiritual pursuits. Governed by Uyghur elites, Kocho maintained a delicate balance of autonomy and external alliances, playing a pivotal role in regional politics. The origins of the Uyghur people trace back to the vast steppes of Central Asia, where they emerged as a significant power among the Turkic-speaking nomadic tribes. Originally part of the Tla Confederation, the Uyghurs rose to prominence during the 8th century CE with the establishment of the Uyghur Khaganate. This empire stretched across the Mongolian plateau, encompassing vast territories and asserting control over vital trade routes. The Uyghur Khaganate thrived through a combination of military strength and cultural sophistication, becoming a central player in the geopolitics of Inner Asia. However, internal strife and external pressures, particularly from the Kyrgyz tribes, led to the Khaganate's fall in 840 CE. With their political structure dismantled, the Uyghurs dispersed into several directions. A significant faction migrated southward into the Tarim Basin, seeking refuge and opportunities in the fertile oases of this region. The Tarim Basin, with its network of oasis cities, offered a favorable environment for settlement and economic development. The Uyghurs, known for their adaptability, began to establish themselves in this new landscape, integrating with existing communities while maintaining their distinct identity. This migration marked the beginning of a transformative era, as the Uyghurs transitioned from a nomadic lifestyle to a settled, agrarian society. The fall of the Uyghur Khaganate marked a turning point in Uyghur history, but it also paved the way for the establishment of the Kingdom of Kocho. By the late 9th century CE, the Uyghurs who had migrated to the Tarim Basin consolidated their presence around the city of Kocho, also known as Gaochang. This strategic location, near modern-day Turpan, provided access to vital Silk Road trade routes and a hospitable environment for agriculture. Kocho was founded as a centralized Uyghur polity, blending elements of their nomadic heritage with the settled traditions of the region. The kingdom inherited a rich cultural and administrative legacy from the earlier inhabitants of the Tarim Basin, including the Tocharians and Sogdians. The Uyghurs absorbed and adapted these influences, fostering a cosmopolitan society that became a model of cultural synthesis. The Kingdom of Kocho emerged as a successor state to the Uyghur Khaganate, embodying the resilience of the Uyghur people. It quickly established itself as a political and economic hub, leveraging its strategic position to control trade along the northern branch of the Silk Road. By the 10th century CE, Kocho had grown into a flourishing kingdom, setting the stage for its golden age as a center of culture, religion, and commerce. The migration to the Tarim Basin and the establishment of Kocho signified a dramatic shift in the Uyghur way of life. The nomadic traditions of the steppes, which emphasized mobility and pastoralism, were gradually replaced by an agrarian and urbanized lifestyle. This transformation was driven by the unique environmental and economic conditions of the Tarim Basin, where irrigation-based agriculture and trade formed the foundation of prosperity. Uyghur leaders embraced this transition, developing administrative systems and urban centers that reflected their new sedentary reality. The city of Kocho became a symbol of this transformation, showcasing sophisticated urban planning, architectural ingenuity, and cultural refinement. The kingdom's ability to adapt to its new surroundings was key to its success, allowing the Uyghurs to maintain their identity while thriving in a diverse and interconnected world. After the collapse of the Uyghur Khaganate in 840 CE, the Uyghur elites, accompanied by their followers, sought new opportunities for survival and stability. A faction of these displaced elites moved southward and settled in the fertile oasis of Qocho, located in what is now modern-day Turpan, China. This city was already known for its historical significance as a vibrant urban center in the Tarim Basin, with a legacy that dated back to earlier civilizations, such as the Tocharians and Sogdians. The Uyghur elites recognized the potential of Qocho as a strategic and resource-rich location. Its position near the northern route of the Silk Road provided access to lucrative trade networks, enabling the exchange of goods, ideas, and cultural practices. Moreover, the oasis city was surrounded by fertile lands, sustained by an advanced Kharez irrigation system that allowed for the cultivation of crops like wheat, barley, and grapes. These factors made Qocho an ideal place for the Uyghurs to rebuild their power and establish a new kingdom. To solidify their presence, the Uyghur leaders integrated their governance structure with the existing local traditions. They maintained their Turkic heritage while adopting aspects of the cultures they encountered in the region. This synthesis facilitated the establishment of a cohesive society and allowed the Uyghur elites to exercise both political and spiritual authority. Over time, Qocho emerged as the heart of a unified kingdom, blending Uyghur traditions with the diverse influences of the Tarim Basin. Qocho's location was pivotal to its development as a major kingdom in Central Asia. Situated at the crossroads of the Northern Silk Road, the city acted as a critical link between China, Central Asia, and the broader regions of the Middle East and Europe. This strategic position enabled the Uyghurs to control and benefit from the vast network of trade routes that traversed the region. The Silk Road was not merely a trade route but a conduit for the exchange of goods, culture, religion, and technology. Qocho became a central node in this network, facilitating the movement of commodities such as silk, spices, gemstones, and textiles. The Uyghur elites capitalized on this advantage, imposing taxes and offering protection to caravans passing through their territory, which bolstered the kingdom's economy. Additionally, Qocho's location allowed the Uyghurs to engage in diplomacy and establish alliances with neighboring states and empires. The kingdom served as a cultural and economic bridge, connecting the Chinese Tang and Song dynasties to the Islamic caliphates and beyond. This role as an intermediary enhanced Qocho's significance, earning it recognition and respect among contemporary powers. The early years of the Kingdom of Qocho were fraught with challenges as the Uyghurs sought to establish a stable polity in the Tarim Basin after the collapse of the Uyghur Khaganate. They faced significant regional threats from neighboring powers, including the Kyrgyz, who had overthrown the Khaganate, and local tribes and city-states competing for control over fertile lands and trade routes. Additionally, expanding empires like the Tang dynasty and the Tibetan Empire created friction in the region. To secure their position, the Uyghurs employed a combination of military strength and diplomatic efforts, but sporadic conflicts hindered their stability. Beyond external threats, the Uyghurs also confronted harsh environmental conditions in the arid and desert-dominated Tarim Basin. Water scarcity was a constant challenge, and the Uyghurs had to repair and expand irrigation systems to sustain agriculture. The extreme temperatures, with scorching summers and freezing winters, required adaptive strategies in both housing and farming. Desertification further threatened the fertile lands, making resource management critical. Despite these difficulties, the Uyghurs showcased resilience by leveraging their expertise in irrigation and pastoralism to secure a steady food supply. In addition to external and environmental struggles, the Uyghurs had to integrate with the diverse populations of the Tarim Basin, which included the indigenous Tocharian peoples, Sogdians, and Chinese settlers. Cultural differences sometimes led to clashes, but the Uyghurs adopted elements of local customs, particularly Buddhist practices, to promote unity and stability. Over time, this cultural integration helped shape Qocho's identity as a cosmopolitan and culturally rich kingdom. The Kingdom of Qocho, located in the Tarim Basin, modern-day Xinjiang, China, was shaped by its unique geography and strategic position. The region's arid environment, dominated by the Taklamakan Desert and the Tian Shan mountain range, created challenges for survival. However, the presence of fertile oases, fed by glacial meltwater, allowed agriculture to thrive. The kingdom developed sophisticated irrigation systems, including the Kharez, which supported farming and urban life, making Qocho prosperous. Its agriculture focused on crops like wheat, barley, and especially grapes, with wine production becoming a notable feature of the region. Qocho's strategic location at the northern edge of the Tarim Basin placed it along a crucial branch of the Silk Road, making it a vital trade and cultural hub. The kingdom's position allowed it to act as a gateway for goods, ideas, and cultures between East and West. As a center for trade, it facilitated the exchange of goods such as silk, wine, livestock, spices, incense, horses, and paper. The kingdom played a key role in supporting Silk Road caravans, ensuring the safety and prosperity of merchants traveling through the harsh desert terrain. Trade brought economic prosperity to Qocho, enabling the kingdom to invest in infrastructure and public works like irrigation and religious temples. Culturally, the kingdom became a melting pot of languages, religions, and artistic traditions, particularly fostering Buddhist scholarship. The influx of merchants and travelers contributed to the kingdom's vibrant intellectual and artistic life, making Qocho a prominent center of cultural and economic exchange in Central Asia. The Kingdom of Qocho was governed by a monarchy led by Uyghur elites, descendants of the rulers of the Uyghur Khaganate. The ruler, known as the Idikit, held both secular and spiritual authority, overseeing governance, military matters, and the kingdom's adherence to Buddhism. The monarch worked alongside an aristocratic class responsible for administration, taxation, trade regulation, and maintaining order. The governance structure was influenced by a blend of Chinese, Persian, and Central Asian practices, creating a hybrid system. Local officials were appointed by the central authority, and laws were shaped by Buddhist principles, emphasizing harmony and ethical conduct. Taxation was mainly in kind, such as grains and silk. Diplomatically, Qocho maintained peaceful relations with neighboring states and nomadic tribes, prioritizing alliances over conflict. It participated in the Chinese tributary system, sending gifts in exchange for protection and trade privileges, while preserving its autonomy. These ties also facilitated cultural exchanges, particularly in art, technology, and the spread of Mahayana Buddhism. Qocho also formed military alliances with the Tang and Song dynasties, collaborating to defend against nomadic invasions and ensure the safety of the Silk Road trade routes. Despite these ties with China, Qocho retained its unique identity through its Uyghur heritage and Buddhist practices. The Uyghur script, derived from Sogdian, was used for administration and literature, maintaining cultural independence. Buddhist practices in Qocho reflected both Chinese and Indian influences, but local rituals and interpretations preserved a distinct Uyghur spiritual outlook. The kingdom's political stability and cultural achievements extended its influence across Central Asia, shaping neighboring communities and solidifying Qocho's reputation as a center of civilization. The Kingdom of Qocho is notable for its strong Buddhist legacy, particularly its adoption of Mahayana Buddhism, which became the state religion in the 9th century CE. Buddhism entered the region through the Silk Road, carried by traders, missionaries, and pilgrims. The Uyghur rulers, seeking stability after the fall of their Khaganate, embraced Buddhism as a unifying force. The monarchy, especially the Idikits, played an active role in promoting the faith by commissioning the construction of temples, monasteries, and stupas, thereby associating themselves with divine authority. The kingdom followed Mahayana traditions, focusing on compassion, enlightenment, and the worship of bodhisattvas like Avalokiteshvara. Buddhist monasteries were central to both religious and cultural life in Qocho. These monasteries served as educational centers, where monks studied scriptures, philosophy, and the arts, contributing to a vibrant intellectual culture. Artistic patronage flourished within these monastic communities, leading to the creation of murals, sculptures, and manuscripts that blended Chinese, Indian, and Central Asian artistic styles. Monks also played an important role in community life by offering spiritual guidance, mediating disputes, and organizing festivals that reinforced social bonds. In addition to Buddhism, other religious influences, such as Manichaeism and Nestorian Christianity, were present in Qocho, highlighting the kingdom's cultural diversity. Manichaeism, once the state religion of the Uyghur Khaganate, continued to have a presence in Qocho, with remnants of its rituals and practices among certain communities. The religion's dualistic nature, emphasizing light and darkness, left an impact on the kingdom's visual culture, particularly in manuscripts and textiles. Nestorian Christianity also established a presence in Qocho, brought by missionaries along the Silk Road. Small Christian communities built churches and practiced their faith through liturgical rituals and translations of scriptures. These communities coexisted peacefully with Buddhists and Manichaeans, contributing to the multicultural identity of Qocho and fostering intellectual exchanges, particularly in medicine and astronomy. Qocho's Buddhist art is celebrated for its depth and variety, drawing from multiple cultural influences. The Bezeklik Buddha Caves, located near Turpan, are among the most remarkable examples of this legacy, featuring intricate murals that depict scenes from Buddhist scriptures, bodhisattvas, and historical figures. These murals combine Chinese, Indian, Persian, and Sogdian styles, reflecting Qocho's central role in cultural exchange. The use of vivid mineral pigments and detailed iconography in these artworks made them distinct, establishing the kingdom as a key center for Buddhist art in Central Asia. Additionally, Qocho produced sculptures of Buddhas and bodhisattvas, crafted from clay and adorned with gold leaf, which symbolized the kingdom's wealth and devotion to Buddhism. Illuminated manuscripts, often adorned with Buddhist motifs, were another significant contribution, blending religious and intellectual culture. The Uyghur script, derived from the Sogdian script, became the dominant writing system in Qocho. It played a key role in preserving the kingdom's cultural and religious heritage. The script not only facilitated communication and record-keeping within the kingdom but also influenced the development of other scripts, including those of the Mongols and Manchu. The Uyghur script was used to write religious texts, including Buddhist sutras and Manichaean scriptures, making them accessible to the local population. In addition to religious literature, secular works, such as historical chronicles, poetry, and legal documents, flourished in the Uyghur script, demonstrating the kingdom's intellectual and administrative sophistication. Qocho's art and manuscripts exemplify remarkable cultural syncretism, which was a direct result of the kingdom's location along the Silk Road. The blending of artistic traditions, such as Chinese Tang and Song dynastic styles, Indian Gupta art, and Persian Sasanian motifs, is evident in the kingdom's Buddhist art, with Buddhist figures often portrayed with Central Asian features. This fusion created a distinctive artistic identity that reflects both the region's cultural diversity and its shared embrace of Buddhism. Similarly, Qocho's manuscripts merged Buddhist teachings with local folklore and moral tales. These manuscripts not only conveyed Buddhist doctrines but also incorporated local cultural narratives, using a variety of artistic techniques borrowed from different cultures to enhance their aesthetic appeal and showcase the multicultural heritage of Qocho. The Kingdom of Qocho's economy was deeply rooted in agriculture, supported by advanced irrigation systems and oasis farming. The region's irrigation techniques, particularly underground canals called khares, were essential in bringing water from distant mountains to the fertile oases, transforming the desert into arable land. The kingdom's agricultural base included staple crops like wheat, barley, and cotton, alongside high-value products such as grapes for winemaking and melons. Orchards and vineyards contributed to both food security and trade, while seasonal farming practices and communal labor ensured efficient production and maintenance of the irrigation systems. Qocho's strategic position along the Silk Road made it a key trading hub, connecting merchants from China, Persia, India, and the Islamic world. The kingdom's cities, including the capital Turpan, offered well-maintained caravanserais, marketplaces, and storage facilities, facilitating the exchange of goods like silk, porcelain, spices, jade, ivory, textiles, and perfumes. Central Asian horses, prized for their strength, were another important trade item. Diplomatically, Qocho's neutral stance and non-militarized status made it a safe and attractive trading partner, contributing to its commercial prosperity. In addition to its agricultural and trade activities, Kocho's economy featured a sophisticated monetary system. Archaeological findings indicate the use of Chinese-style copper coins and silk as currency, along with coins from other regions like Persian dirhams and Islamic dinars, reflecting the kingdom's integration into global trade networks. Barter systems were also prevalent in local markets. The wealth generated from trade funded large-scale religious and cultural projects, including the construction of temples and monasteries. Economic administration was largely managed by Uyghur elites, who ensured the equitable distribution of resources, while Buddhist monasteries also played a role as economic centers, storing surplus goods and providing loans. The Kingdom of Kocho, like many states along the Silk Road, faced continuous external pressures due to its strategic location at the crossroads of various powerful empires and nomadic tribes. Its military strategy was primarily based on forming strategic alliances and employing diplomacy to mitigate the threats posed by neighboring powers, including Turkic tribes and Mongol forces. Rather than relying solely on military strength, the Kingdom of Kocho understood the importance of forming alliances with neighboring states and nomadic groups. Its diplomatic acumen allowed it to navigate complex political landscapes, balancing relationships with the various Turkic Khanates and other Central Asian states. This strategy of alliances was especially vital in maintaining Kocho's sovereignty and in defending against the constant incursions and power struggles that characterized the region. The kingdom's leaders cultivated relationships with both the Tangut Empire, Shi Shah, and the Western Shah, ensuring mutual protection through treaties and agreements. Additionally, Kocho's rulers sought to align themselves with powerful empires like the Khwarezmian Empire and later the Mongol Empire, which provided a layer of protection through their vast networks. These alliances helped Kocho maintain stability and stave off invasions while also ensuring that it remained a key player in the complex web of trade and political relations in the region. Kocho's geographical location made it an essential focal point for the movements of Turkic tribes and the Mongol incursions. The kingdom was surrounded by various nomadic peoples, whose migrations and raids were a constant concern for its rulers. Relations with these tribes were often fraught with tension, as they sought control over the same rich resources and trade routes that Kocho relied upon. The Turkic tribes, such as the Uyghurs and Karluks, played a crucial role in Kocho's defense strategy. While at times these tribes posed a threat to the kingdom, they also proved to be valuable allies in maintaining peace and order in the region. Kocho's rulers used a combination of diplomatic negotiations, intermarriage, and tribute payments to secure alliances with various Turkic chieftains. These alliances helped to buffer the kingdom against external threats and ensure the continued prosperity of trade and cultural exchanges. However, the situation became increasingly precarious as the Mongols, led by Genghis Khan, began their rapid expansion across Central Asia. The Mongol incursions threatened to engulf the entire region, and Kocho, with its relatively smaller military strength, was forced to adapt its defensive strategy to deal with the shifting balance of power. The Mongols were known for their military prowess and relentless conquests, which left few states in the region untouched. In 1209, Kocho faced a crucial turning point in its external relations when it peacefully submitted to the growing power of Genghis Khan. By this time, Genghis Khan had already unified the Mongol tribes and had embarked on a campaign to expand his empire westward. The Mongols had already swept through much of Central Asia, and their influence was becoming too powerful for smaller states like Kocho to resist. Rather than engage in costly military conflict, the rulers of Kocho chose to submit to Genghis Khan's authority, recognizing the futility of resisting such a formidable force. In exchange for their submission, Kocho was granted a degree of autonomy and became a vassal state of the Mongol Empire. This decision ensured the kingdom's survival and continued prosperity under Mongol rule. As a vassal state, Kocho was required to pay tribute to the Mongols and provide military support when necessary, but it retained a degree of internal autonomy. The peaceful submission to the Mongol Empire was not a sign of weakness but a pragmatic decision that ensured Kocho's stability during a period of unprecedented upheaval. By aligning itself with the Mongols, Kocho secured its place within the Mongol-dominated world order, benefiting from the protection and stability the Mongols brought to the region. This alliance also allowed Qocho to maintain its role as a cultural and trade hub along the Silk Road, as the Mongols encouraged trade and communication across their vast empire. In the years following its submission to the Mongols in 1209, the Kingdom of Qocho faced a series of internal challenges that slowly eroded its economic stability and political autonomy. One of the most significant pressures came from resource depletion. The Tarim Basin, once a thriving center of trade and agriculture, began to feel the strain of overuse. The demand for water resources, especially in the face of climatic changes and increasing agricultural needs, put considerable stress on the region's irrigation systems. This led to a gradual decline in agricultural productivity, which was central to Qocho's economy. Additionally, as the kingdom remained a vassal state under Mongol control, it became increasingly dependent on tribute and external trade. The demands of the Mongols for resources and manpower placed further strain on the local economy, reducing Qocho's ability to maintain a strong internal economy. Local trade routes, once vital for the kingdom's prosperity, were reoriented to accommodate Mongol priorities, and the region's commercial autonomy dwindled. As a result, Qocho began to experience economic stagnation and social unrest, which weakened its once vibrant cultural and political systems. The burden of heavy taxation and the shifting focus of the economy toward supporting the Mongol Empire's needs also took a toll on Qocho's society. While the kingdom's rulers had once maintained a delicate balance between internal governance and external relations, the pressure from the Mongols and the diminishing resources contributed to a weakening of state authority and growing internal discontent. The Mongol conquest, while ensuring the survival of Qocho as a vassal state, significantly altered its political and economic landscape. Under Mongol domination, Qocho was integrated into the vast Mongol Empire, and later, the Yuan dynasty, which was established by Kublai Khan in 1271. Qocho's integration into the Yuan dynasty marked the beginning of its decline as a distinct political entity. The Mongols' rule over Qocho brought both advantages and disadvantages. On the one hand, the region enjoyed a degree of stability due to the Pax Mongolica, which facilitated trade and communication across the empire. However, this came at the cost of Qocho's political autonomy. As a vassal state, Qocho was subjected to the central authority of the Mongol rulers, and its local elites increasingly found themselves sidelined in favor of Mongol appointees. The influence of the native Uyghur elites, who had once governed the region, gradually waned as Mongol officials took control of administrative and military affairs. The absorption of Qocho into the Yuan dynasty further marginalized its role in regional politics. The once thriving Uyghur Buddhist culture, which had been a hallmark of Qocho's identity, began to fade as the Mongol rulers of the Yuan dynasty promoted their own brand of governance, which was heavily influenced by Mongol traditions and Confucian ideals. This process of assimilation accelerated the decline of local power structures and the kingdom's cultural distinctiveness. Over time, the increasing dominance of Mongol rule and the centralization of power under the Yuan dynasty left Qocho unable to sustain its previous level of political and economic autonomy, contributing to the region's eventual transformation into a more integrated part of the broader Mongol Empire. During the later stages of the Mongol period, the religious landscape of Qocho underwent a significant transformation as Buddhism, which had long flourished in the region, began to decline. This shift was largely due to the Mongol rulers' promotion of other belief systems, particularly Islam. As Islam spread across Central Asia through Turkic and Persian influences, Muslim traders, scholars, and missionaries introduced Islamic culture and beliefs to the local population. The conversion of the Mongol rulers and elites to Islam further accelerated the religion's dominance, replacing Buddhism in both the administration and military. By the 14th century, Islam had become firmly entrenched in Qocho, and many Buddhist monasteries and temples were abandoned or repurposed for Islamic use. The growing presence of Islamic institutions, such as mosques and madrasas, along with the patronage of Islamic art and architecture, further reinforced this cultural shift. The transition to Islamic influence marked the final stage in Qocho's transformation. As the kingdom became integrated into the broader Islamic world, replacing its once vibrant Buddhist identity with Islamic traditions that reshaped its religious, cultural, and political fabric.